Imagine you're scrolling through your phone late at night, and you stumble across a post that makes your blood run cold. A grainy photograph, a timestamp, a location that's just a little too close to home. And beneath it, a thread of comments from complete strangers piecing together a nightmare that the police had spent 2 years trying to solve. Strangers who, in just 48 hours, managed to connect dots that detectives couldn't. And when they finally handed over their evidence file, neatly organized and damning, the police didn't thank them. The lead detective was furious, humiliated, and what happened next made national headlines. This is the story of how the internet cracked a case that baffled the authorities, and the dark reason why the people in power wish they hadn't. It all started on a quiet Tuesday morning, the kind of morning that doesn't make the news. In the small, tightly woven community of Harbor Ridge, Oregon, a place where people leave their front doors unlocked and high school football is basically a religion, a 22-year-old barista named Mia Vance didn't show up for her shift. Now, Mia wasn't the type to flake. Her manager, an older woman who treated Mia like a daughter, knew something was wrong the second the clock hit 6:05 a.m. Mia's phone went straight to voicemail. Her apartment, a modest studio above an old antique shop on Main Street, was empty. The back door was unlocked, a half-eaten piece of toast still sitting on the counter, and her car was parked right out front. It's the kind of scene that signals something deeply unsettling. A person doesn't just evaporate from a locked life. Local police initially treated it as a possible runaway. They told the family that young people sometimes need to escape the pressure. They didn't issue a statewide alert for 72 hours. And even then, the search felt half-hearted. You see, Harbor Ridge relied heavily on tourism, and a missing person investigation is bad for business. The official narrative was that Mia probably met someone online and took off. Case closed, at least in their minds. But the internet didn't believe that. And the internet, as we've learned time and time again, doesn't forget. Enter a true crime subreddit dedicated to unsolved disappearances in the Pacific Northwest. A user with the handle Pine State Sleuth posted a summary of Mia's case. It was a simple post, really. A few news clippings, a link to her Instagram, and a plea for anyone with information to come forward. Within hours, the post had thousands of upvotes and hundreds of comments. People weren't just passively reading. They were working. They downloaded high-resolution satellite images of the last known location. They cross-referenced police scanner archives. They even tracked down a grainy background reflection in one of Mia's last selfies. It's incredible what a group of motivated strangers with Wi-Fi and a deep sense of injustice can accomplish when the system fails a young woman. 48 hours after that initial post, the group had something solid, something devastating. They didn't find Mia's body. They found her digital ghost. A new account on a dating app had surfaced, using heavily filtered but undeniably recognizable photos of Mia. The bio was strange. It used phrases that Mia never used in her public captions, specific slang terms from a very particular construction subculture. One of the digital sleuths, a data analyst from Chicago who had never even been to Oregon, ran a reverse image search and linked those filtered photos to an older, deleted Facebook profile. That profile belonged to a man named Derek Landis. Derek wasn't a stranger. He was a 4-year-old contractor who had been doing renovation work in the antique shop right below Mia's apartment. Police had interviewed him casually as a neighbor and let him go, describing him as cooperative. But the amateur detectives found a chilling detail the police had completely missed. In Derek's Facebook photos, he was standing next to a truck, and on the dashboard of that truck was a distinct pine tree air freshener shaped like a skull. That exact same skull air freshener was visible in the reflection of a window in one of Mia's final Instagram stories. Now, here is the twist that turned this from a sad missing person case into a national scandal. This was not a master class in hacking. It was a master class in observation. When the Reddit group tried to present their findings to the Harbor Ridge Police Department, they were met with a wall of silence, and then outright hostility. The lead detective on the case sent an internal email that leaked almost immediately. In it, he called the internet sleuths vigilante keyboard warriors and insisted they were contaminating the official investigation. But the fury wasn't really about contamination. It was about control. Because that detective had a secret he was desperately trying to bury. He and Derek Landis, the contractor with the Skull air freshener, went to the same church. They had served on a charity build together years ago. The detective had allowed his personal bias, the good Christian man persona that Derek projected, to blind him to the objective evidence, staring him right in the face. The climax of this digital manhunt happened fast. Armed with the timeline and the photographic evidence plastered all over social media, national media outlets descended on Harbor Ridge. The police department couldn't ignore it anymore. They obtained a proper search warrant for Derek's property, something they should have done 2 years prior. In the crawlspace beneath his shed, they didn't just find evidence of Mia's presence. They found a trophy box, items from other women who had gone missing in neighboring counties over the last decade. It turned out Derek Landis wasn't a one-time predator. He was a serial offender who had hidden in plain sight, protected by a small-town reputation, and a detective who simply refused to see evil in a familiar face. The police were furious, not because the internet interfered, but because a bunch of strangers on Reddit made them look incompetent and worse, corrupt. The lead detective resigned in disgrace a month later, but the damage to the trust in that community is broken forever. So, here we are, left with a deeply uncomfortable question. Justice was served, but only because a digital mob decided that a barista's life mattered more than police procedure. We have to ask ourselves, how many Derek Landis types are walking free right now simply because the person investigating them trusts their gut more than the evidence? How many missing faces are we scrolling past every day, hiding a story that just needs the right set of eyes to look a little closer? If this story sent a shiver down your spine, imagine what's hiding in the cases we haven't solved yet. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you think online communities are the future of justice, or are we playing a dangerous game without a badge? I read every single comment. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss part 2, where we break down the exact posts that cracked the case and the horrifying detail in the trophy box that I can't even mention on YouTube. Trust me, it gets darker. I told you at the end of the last video that it gets darker, and I meant it. Because while the arrest of Derek Landis felt like a victory, a moment where the little guy finally won against a broken system, the truth hiding in that crawl space was far more disturbing than anyone on that Reddit thread could have prepared for. This isn't just a story about a killer who got caught. This is a story about the box he kept, the trophies he collected, and the haunting possibility that the internet didn't just solve one missing person case. They might have accidentally stumbled upon an active nightmare that is still unfolding right now. When investigators pulled back the plywood board covering the dirt floor under Derek Landis's shed, the air hit them first, a mix of damp earth and decay. But it wasn't a body they found down there. It was a collection, a meticulously organized archive of evil. Sealed in a waterproof plastic storage bin, the kind you'd buy at any hardware store to store Christmas decorations, was a collection of items that turned a localized missing person case into a multi-state federal investigation. There were driver's licenses, 9 of them, all belonging to women between the ages of 19 and 26, all reported missing. And the dates on those licenses spanned almost 12 years. The police had been looking for isolated runaways. Derek had been collecting them. But here is the detail that the news stations couldn't broadcast, the specific piece of evidence that made even the hardened FBI agents step back. Inside that box, nestled between the plastic cards, was a stack of Polaroid photographs. And these weren't just posed pictures. They were photos of the women holding a newspaper dated the day after their official disappearance was filed. It was proof of life, a sick, twisted postcard to the investigators who were failing them. Derek wasn't just killing these women. He was documenting the aftermath, keeping them alive for a while, and then storing their final terrified moments as a private collection of dominance. The Reddit sleuths who started this journey thinking they were just finding a missing barista had accidentally exposed a serial predator whose body count the police hadn't even realized existed. The lead detective's incompetence wasn't just about overlooking a local contractor. His blindness had allowed a man to hunt for over a decade. But the emotional weight of this story doesn't land on Derek. It lands on the families. When Mia's mother finally saw the digital evidence thread that Pine State Sleuth and the others had assembled, She said something that broke the entire online community. She didn't rage against the police, though she had every right to. She simply said, "I thought the world had forgotten the sound of her name. You proved to me that strangers cared more about my daughter than the men paid to protect her." That sentence ricocheted across social media. It ignited a firestorm of protest outside the Harbor Ridge Police Department. It led to a state audit, and it forced every single cold case in the county back onto the table. The fury of the police wasn't about professional pride anymore. It was about the exposure of a systemic rot. They were furious because they knew that if a random data analyst in Chicago hadn't zoomed in on a reflection of a skull-shaped air freshener, Derek Landis would still be renovating kitchens and smiling at neighbors. As we speak, the FBI is still sorting through the contents of that box. 3 of the 9 driver's licenses belong to women whose remains have never been found. Their families are living in a limbo that is somehow worse than grief. It is the silent, screaming tension between hope and closure. And that brings us to the open wound of this entire story. You see, in one of those Polaroid photos, there's a background that doesn't match Oregon. It's a desert landscape, cacti, a setting sun that digital forensic analysts have traced to the Arizona desert. And in the reflection of a car window in that photo, visible only after the digital team enhanced the image 1,000 times, there isn't just Derek. There's another man, a blurry, unrecognizable figure standing in the background. That face has never been identified. So here is the terrifying, unresolved truth that leaves me staring at the ceiling at night. Was Derek Landis acting alone, or was this a network? Did the internet detectives close a case, or did they lift the lid on something much more sprawling and sinister? Because out there in the Arizona desert, right now, there might be a man looking at this news coverage, sweating, knowing that the same online community that tore down the walls in Oregon is just getting started. They're currently running the blurry reflection through every facial recognition algorithm they can legally and sometimes illegally access. The police are, once again, playing catch-up. The armchair detectives are, once again, lit by the blue glow of their screens, fueled by coffee and a refusal to let evil hide. I want you to sit with that feeling, that knot in your stomach, because the line between a spectator and a detective is just a click away. There are thousands of cases out there, sitting in digital archives, waiting for the right pair of eyes. Maybe those eyes are yours. Let me know in the comments what you think about the Arizona connection. Do you think this is a second perpetrator, or just a dark coincidence? I genuinely want to hear your theories because sometimes the comments section is smarter than any detective squad in the country. If you haven't already, please hit that like button and subscribe. It's not just for the algorithm. It's because these stories need to be told, and the only way we can keep telling them is with your support. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the update on the Arizona lead. Because trust me, the second that blurry face gets a name, we are going to be right here to break it all down. Until then, stay safe, stay curious, and keep looking closer. The truth is out there. It's just hiding in the shadows that the authorities are too afraid to light up.